Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Mindy Eggen for Hero Arts, and in today's video I am going to be creating a card using the Impressionist Water Lilies stamp set, and I'm also going to show you how you can create new colors with your ink pads. I'm going to start off my card by doing just a little bit of ink blending. I have a piece of white cardstock here, and just using my Tide Pool ink from Hero Arts and a blending brush, I'm just going to lightly add this color about where I'm going to be stamping my image. Now you can start it with the white cardstock, but by adding this, I'm kind of creating that lake scene or that pond scene, adding a little color there. And then also when I'm stamping other colors on top of it, it's going to alter those colors. So it's going to expand the colors that I have. I'll then place this in my MISTI tool and line up the first layer of my image, making sure that this image is over that ink blended area. One thing I really love about this stamp set, other than it creates a gorgeous scene, is that there is room for mistakes. So if you are not good with lining up your layering images, this is an Impressionist set. So it's made to look like a piece of art or a piece of artwork. And to me, none of that is ever perfect. So I think this has a lot of wiggle room to it. So after I picked that image up with the door of the MISTI, I'm stamping it down in Tide Pool ink, which is the ink I used to add that little bit of blending on the panel. I'm going to stamp this twice just to make sure I have some really good coverage there, and then I'm going to clean this image up and bring in the second layer. Now the second layer is going to be stamped on top of some of that blending I already did. So there is kind of that light blue or that hue of light blue in the background. I'm stamping this image, the second layer, in ultra pink. So it's not going to be a true pink. I'm going over that blue. So it's giving me almost kind of a purple tone to it. So take a look at your inks, take a look at maybe adding some blending or even colored cardstock just to change up some of the colors that you have in your collection. Now I'm going to bring in the third layer, and for this one, this is the lily pads. So I'm lining it up over that open space, which once again does have that Tide Pool ink that I blended on behind it. And I'm stamping this in green apple. So this is a really nice bright green. And I'll ink up my image and just stamp that down. I'm using a pressure tool to help apply pressure to my image. You could certainly just stamp it and push down with your hands, but if you have trouble with your wrists, a pressure tool sometimes helps with that. You could use a dry eraser from one of the dry eraser boards, works really well too. Mine happens to be from the Stampin' Bug. The next image I'm stamping, I will be stamping in Aquatic ink. So this is a really pretty blue, but once it goes over the top of some of those other colors that I already stamped down, it changes the tone of that blue. I also stamped this one twice to really intensify that color. Now I could have just left this as is on this white cardstock, but I wanted to add some texture to the background, and I had a piece of wood grain cardstock that I'm going to be adding this to, but for in the meantime, I decided I'm going to try and get this cut out. So I started by die cutting the museum frame twice from white cardstock and once from a gold mirror cardstock, and I'm going to layer them together with a tape runner. You could use liquid glue, but I was a little worried that that liquid glue would seep through those die cut areas in the frame. Then I'm going to add this frame over my image, and what I'll do is cut this out, just going around the frame. That way I am able to kind of place this wherever I want on a card front and add it to whatever kind of background that I choose. Like I said previously, I had some white wood grain cardstock, but if you don't have the wood grain cardstock, Hero Arts carries a wood grain fancy die that you could use on white cardstock to create a very similar look. There are a few sentiments on the Water Lilies stamp set, but I chose one off of the Dream Messages stamp set. I really loved the script of this and the message, so I stamped that down in Intens-ified black ink, did that twice to make sure it was a really nice and a crisp black, and then I'm trimming it down with my paper trimmer, and I trimmed it down into this little rectangle. I'm going to add it to the bottom of the card. So starting off first by adding my picture frame here, so it looks like a true picture on a wall because I have that kind of wood grain background, and then adding the sentiment with foam squares. I really thought about adding it over the top of the frame, but there was just too much open space towards the bottom. And I really like actually how this came out because to me it looks like a plaque under a picture frame like you really would see in a museum. That's going to finish up my card project for today. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this water lilies stamp set and layering up this image, and also give you some ideas on layering up your inks to create new colors. Thanks so much for stopping by today, and see you soon.